Considered to be a key county in British history, Yorkshire's contributions include the Bronte sisters, along with the infamous Yorkshire Ripper. Yorkshire receives millions of tourists every year to visit its famous landmarks, and many of these historic buildings overlooking the stretches of breathtaking countryside. But throughout the centuries, Yorkshire is a place that has a darker and gruesome history of events we can only now imagine. A history of murders, battles and mass death, including the Great Plague, which arrived in Yorkshire throughout the 14th and 15th century, killing a huge percentage of the population. All of these combined tragedies have resulted in many hundreds of haunted tales, each having their own unique ghost stories. 500 feet above the nearby village of Hebton Bridge, and one of the highest points in West Yorkshire, is the village of Heptonstall. Almost frozen in time for 200 years, Heptonstall's steep and winding cobble streets have been the site of horrific battles and sieges during the Civil War, along with numerous stories including witchcraft, murders and executions. Heptonstall's historical significance is indicated by the fact that it was mentioned in the Domesday Book survey of 1068.
Hello everyone and welcome to St Thomas of Becket's churchyard.
Originally constructed in 1260, St Thomas of Becket Church was built to withstand Heptonstall's wild and destructive hilltop storms. Whilst laying the chapel foundation stone in 1764, John Wesley described this church as being the ugliest he had ever seen. An entry in the registers of the Archbishop of York records that in December 1482, this church was temporarily closed for restorations, after being polluted by an effusion of blood. The story suggests that the spilt blood was belonging to a parish priest, gruesomely murdered inside the church by a disapproving father of the bride. This priest had just consecrated a secret wedding, much to the bride's father's disapproval, this resulting in the priest's murder. However, no records confirm this story's accuracy. Local rumours suggest that the spirit of the murdered priest haunts nearby in Chantry House. Densely packed with centuries of graves, pieces of bone along with sections of tombstone have even been uncovered within the fabrics of nearby Chantry House. Recently becoming a private house, Chantry House was once used as a charnel house, where the bones of the dead were stored after being removed from the churchyard to make room for new burials. During restoration work in 1965, builders discovered 2 grave slabs serving as windowsills, along with a wooden staircase made out of coffin lids. Shards of bones and human remains appearing within the cracks in the masonry and under the floors, along with the discovery of a blocked doorway, which was leading into another room undisturbed for decades. During the restoration work, the group of contractors led by Jack Smith each witnessed an unexplainable encounter within these walls, each claiming to have clearly seen a pair of feet, sandals and tunic. The team of workers were adamant that this was the ghost of a monk. Heptonstall's locals are convinced that the restoration work at Chantry House have awoken the spirits within, and newly unblocked doorways being a portal into the spirit world. Church Lane. The approaching lane towards Chantry House is an area where residents have reported their dogs barking, along with displaying unusual behaviours, with many of these dogs just standing still and barking, refusing to cross over towards Chantry House. The carved stone faces dotted around doorways, gateways, bridges and boundary walls were placed here in the 16th century, representing a border between our world and the spirit world, protecting the church and the surrounding areas from evil spirits. The Church of St Thomas of Becket stood proudly for 600 years, until in September 1847, when the church proved to be no match for a powerful storm that shattered the building into what we see here today. Soon after, a new church was built alongside the abandoned remains of St Thomas of Becket, but again in 1875, the southwest pinnacle crashed to the ground after being struck by lightning.
Now in this churchyard there are supposed to be 100,000 graves.
Heptonstall has 3 adjacent burial grounds, the oldest section being here at the old ruin of St Thomas of Becket Church. Many inscriptions on the earlier gravestones are difficult to decipher, and some inscriptions only include the initials and dates. Some of these gravestones have been used twice, and quite possibly bear the inscriptions underneath as well as those written on top. It is believed that somewhere within this cemetery are the remains of local witch hunters, where in the mid-17th century they were ordered to seek out and bring to justice anyone suspected with dealing in black magic. It was December 1646 when Elizabeth Crossley, along with a number of others from Heptonstall, were arrested and charged with witchcraft. They were accused of causing the death of a 2-year-old child. Elizabeth had quite the reputation, with many people believing she was a witch. Henry Cockcroft of Heptonstall was the first to give evidence in court.
Order in the courtroom.
He said Elizabeth Crossley went to his house the week before, begging.
Oh, have you come begging again, Elizabeth?
Elizabeth left Henry's house unimpressed with what she was offered. And 2 nights after her visit, Henry Cockcroft's 2-year-old son, William, began to have fits, and shortly after, he died. Believing his son had been bewitched, Henry paid a visit to another suspected witch, accusing her of causing his child's death. Mary did confess to having certain powers, but then she accused Elizabeth, along with Elizabeth's daughter, with the help of a lady named Mary Kitchen, for causing the death of the young child. Years previous, Mary Midgley was believed to have been responsible for bewitching her neighbour's cattle, and her friendship with Elizabeth encouraged the local gossips and accusations towards the pair of women, all believing that they had supernatural powers. Unfortunately, there are no records to show how this case concluded, but it was suggested that Henry Cockcroft had threatened and struck Mary Midgley in order to receive a confession from her to being a witch.
Now one of the gravestones in here is that of David Hartley, who was hanged in York for counterfeiting coins.
Based in Cragg, Vale, near Heptonstall, David Hartley was responsible for producing fake gold coins to supplement small incomes. It was the year 1769, and William Dighton was investigating a coin counterfeiting gang led by David Hartley. A coiner named James Broadbent betrayed the gang by revealing the gang's existence. William Dighton soon had David Hartley arrested, making the rest of the gang members vengeful, and David's brother Isaac engineered a plan to kill the investigator, William Dighton. David's brother Isaac employed 2 local farmhands to carry out the murder, and on the 10th of November 1769, they shot Dighton in nearby Halifax. Former Prime Minister Charles Watson Wentworth made it his job to hunt down those responsible for the murder, and on Christmas Day 1769, 30 coiners had been captured and arrested. The leader of the Cragg Vale coiners, David Hartley, was hanged near York on the 28th of April 1770. His body returned to Heptonstall and buried here at St Thomas a Becket Cemetery. David's brother Isaac escaped the authorities and lived a normal life until his death in 1815. The 2 farmhands employed to kill Dighton were eventually captured and arrested a number of years later, and were both hanged for the murder of William Dighton.
Now also there's a phantom horseman been sighted on the streets of Heptonstall.
It was November 1643, when a royalist army began their journey from Halifax throughout the night, gathering at the river edge in Hebden Bridge. Taking up their siege positions in Heptonstall were 750 Roundheads, led by Colonel Bradshaw. Early morning had arrived, and the royalist soldiers began their 500-foot climb towards the village of Heptonstall. They were then taken straight back down again by a cascade of falling rocks. Men were trampled to death by their horses, running over them in a mad panic. The army plunged themselves into the river in order to escape, only to be swept away within the rushing torrents fueled by the torrential rain. Ever since the siege, it is rumoured that the phantom of a Roundhead soldier on his horse has been witnessed galloping through the winding cobbled lanes throughout Heptonstall. Reportedly dressed ready for battle, their regular appearance has become famously known within the local area. From civil war and witchcraft, to the graveyard secrets and the spirits within. Walking through Heptonstall is a journey throughout time, a place that is steeped in history and hauntings.
Cause I believe in you.